3 movement. Imperial's still scrambling about. Fleet's combining up here, and this is something that's going to be kind of the nature. This turn is going to be a complex turn where fleets are going to get reassigned, etc. This is one example where we've got the 212th and the 1st Provincial. They could actually stay as they are. I believe the 212th has a higher ranking officer, though. Level 8, 1st Provincial has level 11. So I could combine them into one fleet, or I could keep them with the flexibility of that 1st Provincial. It's a smaller fleet, so it's okay. Much more complicated is everything is drawn into Jewel at this point. And I have like 3 fleets plus, well, 4 fleets actually, because there's the damaged ships fleet, plus reserves heading to orient and figure out where I'm going to put things in the Jewel sector. And that is really going to get completely reorganized. That's to give me a striking force that's big enough to deal with the 212. This 2nd Assault here is a little bit more problematic. But remember, I've got a fleet that probably has to come curving back down because I sent it into that wrong sector. This is turning into a bit of a fight, though. And then over here, I am attacking at Esalen, giving a little bit of support because I'm losing the battle there. Might as well win it. Leave the troops there, get the... I guess that's worth 8 points. It's kind of part of both empires. It's this weird codominion thing. Yeah, come back when I resolve things. There aren't a lot of combats. Graham fleet is going to grab something, and there's something weird going on over here. Oh, that's the Jewel sector. Yeah, everything else. This and this are the 2 new. Oh no, I got one here. I'm advancing up that way. It's kind of hard to see when they cover the counter if I do it completely. Yeah, and that's heading up into Regina area, and I think that's kind of dangerous, actually. That's a big fleet with a jump 3 capability, so it can actually make it across this gap. You could conceivably use a tanker to push across a gap, and I might be able to do that. Instead, and the tanker refuels ships. The tanker becomes becomes unfueled, so I can't do that again, but that can get you across a gap, so that might be a possibility to try to cross this if I have tankers up there. I don't know if I do. I got a tanker with the 2nd Assault Fleet. I think that's this one. And I think that's the only one that I have. If I can get a small enough fleet together to cross the bridge here, that might be the way to go. All new planets were dealt with. The Graham fleet has to refuel for a turn. They're slowed down. They're too big, is what it comes down to. They're partially streamlined. I hope there's water here. If there's not, we may have a problem. Yeah, it's got water on the world. We captured the world. Point-wise, Jewel fell. For sure this time. Like, I didn't give the points before, so we're up to 127 points. But we got to get to 300 or turn 26, and it's only turn 3 right now. And, you know, I mean, there's a lot of ships coming in on the Zhodan side, too. It's not like the Imperials just get a cakewalk of, you know, a large fleet. Turn 6, they get these, and then they start trickling in. Now, they have a big fleet, and they have naval advantages, but I don't know if their fleet is as big as the Zhodan fleet that comes in over 20 turns. Like, I just don't even know if they have the ships in comparison. These coming in don't look huge. This is a lot of troops here rather than ships. And then, Well, now I have the mess of consolidating 4 fleets into new commands, taking into account where those fleets are going and who their admirals are. And that's not a trivial thing. In fact, I don't even know how it's done. Because if a fleet has orders, that's great. But if I put a better admiral in place, that changes the command restrictions on it. Oh, control is here. You have to destroy the SDBs to get control of the fleet, of a planet. I didn't realize. Because it would have made sense that I captured the starport among the other military installations and whatever. All there is really some SDBs hiding, and they can't really defend it, but whatever. I'm looking for where you reorganize. No, I'm not having an easy time finding it. Is it under movement? Probably. Okay. Detachment doesn't require plotting. Now remember, I can always abort if things get too complex, but assigning an admiral to the fleet changes the plotting factor. It's also possible by assigning a different admiral to replace it previously. If the plotting factor is reduced, the excess turns can be removed. If it's increased, then you're allowed to plot the remaining movement in place. So that kind of obviates any real problems. So it might actually be in my best interests to mix the fleets up and change some of the command restrictions on them, because I may get kind of like some free plotting in addition by doing that the way it's worded. For the most part, I'm not going to make that my reliance. My reliance is going to be, where is the fleet going? What force does it need to do that? And who do I want commanding it? You know, but the size of the fleet determines the rank of the commanders. I have to give the biggest fleet to this first ranked commander out of this set. I have to give the second biggest fleet to the second ranked commander. I don't have a lot of choice there. But I do have choice as to, like, well, I could detach some units, and, you know, if the numbers are close, I can kind of fudge around a little bit. I also have all these ground forces, many of them damaged, which I have to make a decision on. And I got to leave something back in Jewel. Personally, I think that, and I feel like I got this impression other times I played, I think that it's kind of a cakewalk for the Zodani, but I'm not sure. Again, I'm just looking at what the reinforcement pool is, and, well, there's a hell of a lot of battleships there. Yeah, that's going to tell eventually. The cruisers, there's also a lot of them, but they're a lot less important in terms of the numbers they're likely to show. On the other hand, that's not necessarily an assurance. Take a look at this. This cruiser has an attack factor of 5, a defense factor of 2. A defense factor of 5 as well. These have higher defense factors, but it's the attack factor that really matters. Like, unless you don't have defense factors in your fleet at all, unless you have like a fleet of battlecruiser type things, you know, whatever, high combat capability, not a great defense. This actually has a pretty good defense as far as I'm concerned. You're going to take your hits on things like this and have a high defense factor and have not a terrific attack factor, and then just send it back to rebuild or whatever if you've got the replacement points for it. Okay, anyway, I'll come back with whatever the hell I do in terms of reorg. Before I get to that, I want to say something. Whatever the hell is about this game, it's clunky. it requires planning of a nature that I'm usually not very good at, you know, figuring out where my resources are going to go to. And, you know, I just, there's a lot of headache to it. It may be unbalanced. It also happens to generally have pleased me. I rated it a 6, probably because of so many of the headache factors of it. But I gotta say, it's actually like kind of pulling me out. I was in a total gaming funk between doing the 1914 games, which, well, I was doing the Serbian one, which I don't know if it's the situation, if it's the clunkiness of that system, but it just wasn't, you know, making me feel like I was having fun playing it in a way that I expected to. Which is why I don't mind so much missing out on the Twilight in the East. And I played a few Euros as well recently. And they're just not, you know, I was just feeling like, wow, I'm just not in the mood to game. And somehow, oh, and I did the Darkover thing, which is just fucking weird. And somehow this just like sprung to mind while I was reading the Darkover stuff. And the particular book that I was reading, I don't know if I brought it up, I think I did, it is based in kind of, you know, this period of time where Darkover's more of a science fiction situation than what I rated the other game as, which was fantasy. But it just struck my mind of, oh, I want to do Fifth Frontier War. I don't know why, you know. I had other things in mind. I actually kind of wanted to do it even before Darkover, but I'm like, well, let's make sure. And I've had bigger games that I've been wanting to get to. In fact, I just picked up another one of, picked up The Great Invasion, one of a couple of more operational style games that I have on Gettysburg that I kind of want to get to. I have like DAC that I've been fiddling around in the back of my head with. Oh, I really should play that. I like OCS, right? You know, I say I do. I've got newer things that have come in that I want to do and everything, but I got an XX that I'm putting off, but this was just like crying to be played. And I'm damn glad I did. I was, even if I end up giving up partway through or whatever, for whatever reasons I always do, I'm getting more out of this than I think I would have gotten out of just about anything else. And so that's really cool. Of course, it's also giving me an excuse to get away from, you know, to avoid other things in life that I just don't want to do. But I seem to find a way of avoiding those anyway. The rearg was not perfect, but it's pretty cool. I managed to shift things around so I can keep my best admiral in terms of combat capability in charge of that first assault fleet, which has a little bit more jump capability. It's fairly flexible with a 1 command rating, so that's pretty good. I dissolved the 15th Colonials, and I think they mainly got absorbed into this. This is actually a pretty damn big fleet, this 17th Colonial. But it's not very fast, but I gave it an incredibly flexible leader. Now, that leader will trump him and make me maybe not as good at combat, but the excess troops should be important. Plus, you know, I feel like either of these fleets could handle the 212th. The 212th has some troops here, I think. No, they have troops here. Oh, well. I thought they had troops on board. Guess not. But I got the cruisers and battleships mixed in together, so it's not that impressive. Yeah, I mean, it's just not capable of handling either, I think, of the Zodani main fleets that are coming in from that direction. The 2 movement one is actually problematic. That is the 17th, and by giving it a better leader, I can now try to slip it through. I think the fleet is too big for me to use if I had a tanker, which I don't even seem to have present. 16 fleet got sort of the spare lousy or lowest ranked leader. He's good in combat, not that not that unresponsive. He's a Zodani leader. There aren't many that are really bad. He's about as unresponsive as they come, unless you want to give the Sword World Admiral a shot. But somebody's got to ferry those troops back. I was planning on using this and maybe taking the scouts to do it. I don't think it makes a lot of sense. And those will go catch up with the Speed 3 fleet, I guess. And so I should be able to, well, again, that Speed 2 fleet has to kind of wind its way down this way for an attack on Regina. But I think the first assault fleet is sufficient to launch that attack going forward. I've got the second assault fleet also up there, which is also a fast fleet. Now, this I have to be careful of. This is a very low rank, very high ranked admiral. The highest rank I think I have on the board. Oh no, I got this guy too. And, about as unresponsive as a Zodani leader comes, and no combat bonus. And that's the same here. So I don't know what I'm going to do with him, whether I'm going to try to combine him. I think I'm probably better off leaving that first assault fleet fairly powerful and not joining. Got to be careful. Let me see what orders I gave to that second assault fleet. I gave that orders to go to 1711. That was this turn. I have not given it orders yet. It's going here next turn, which I kind of don't want to do. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, I've got those orders in place, and somehow or another, these guys know what other fleets have as orders, right? Which, again, it's like there's some communications capability, but I don't know. It's not very good because you've got the written orders that you have to go with. I could just cancel those orders by the rolls, but I don't feel like I should. All right, I want to cancel. Okay, I don't know what happened. My camera gave me a bit of a screw up there, and I think it deleted the recording. I'm going to move the Zodani first assault fleet here, because there was otherwise going to be a traffic jam over here where commands would get forced into an ugly position again. So that just means I'm going to be coming down this way. That's fine. Although I have to be careful, he's also able to outcommand me. So I've got to keep the first assault away from the second and third assault fleets, because they're both worse led and will require that I do some juggling, possibly. And I'm so worried about second assault, but I don't want to be involved in a combat with them necessarily. My big worry is up here with the Vargers. They might get the shit kicked out of them by the 212th and the provisional fleet. If that happens, it happens. I don't really have much answer, and I'm really kind of worried because I'm jumping into this space, so if the 212th is staying there, I get hurt. I'm going to have some trooper replacement points allocated next turn, and some of them are on Jewel, but I could actually do anything in that fleet and just reincorporate it, because I have full control of the hex, so I can pick up and drop off units at basically any time. Supposedly it's in movement. I don't want to reorganize on that level, but I was initially saying, hey, these are the guys I want to reorg. I'm not sure if they necessarily are. I don't have many troop points available, so I got to be kind of careful, because I only start with 10 points of troops, so I can probably fix one of the units that's actually on there or something and pull the rest off. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I probably only want to have one garrison unit in any given place. Anything more than that, is kind of wasteful, because those small units, you know, a fleet comes in with its invasion force and it can smack the shit out of just about anything. The only reason this got the shit kicked out of it was those SDBs and the large forces that were present that I wasn't able to neutralize immediately. All right, so that's the end of turn 3. And that means we're going into turn 4. Yay. Between dancing, recovery from dancing, shopping, and getting, for whatever reason, back into playing some computer games, I tried to play, I don't remember, the Kingdom Come Deliverance that I was playing when my wife died, but that's too active, and it makes me sick to my stomach now. It's like, I don't know what happens. Sometimes the motion of a first-person type game gets me bothered. Anyway, I'm going to try to dip my toe back in. I know I was really enjoying, but I couldn't motivate myself on Saturday and whatever. Having trouble even today. I have some replacement points. So I wrote down what I have, 30 squadron points that I can't use right now. But I have like 10 troop points. And the forces that are at Jewel, they can be on planet to replace. I have this 20-point first fire armored unit. That seems like a great category, high tech. That seems like a great candidate. Now it's got 40% against it, which means if I want to heal it completely, that'll take 8 of my 10 replacement points. And I think that's a worthwhile thing. I don't know if I'm going to use the other 2 right away. I may just store them up. I'm not going to get many replacement points for troops, period, the end. There's just not much in the way of getting points. But, you know, there's no way you're going to fix one of the big units, right? Those things, as they start deteriorating, they just deteriorate in big quantities. But in order to get this, yeah, I mean, I have to look up on here, see how many points I'm down, and then I could put myself at a lesser level, but I would rather just clear that marker. Another one to kill the last 2 points. It's a 20-point high-tech jump unit, high-tech first fire jump unit. That was, ooh, wait a minute, it's at 90% loss. That would cost me more than I got. Well, let's upgrade. I don't know. It's not really worth upgrading, but it might be to hit a small planet, so what the hell. So yeah, 20 at 90 means I only have 2 strength points left. The other 2, I bring it up to 80. And I'll haul that around with me too. Materials, I only have 3 points initially, and no squadron points. Now, I could start recovering something like this. It's low tech, why bother? Here's a high tech jump unit, maybe. But again, you know, do I really want to recover just a few strength points on a unit? Let's wait until I have a use for the units. It's easy enough to recover damaged units. So if I end up on a counteroffensive where I find, and I should, where I find I need more troops, I'll do it then instead. And that's going to get me over to the movement phase then. Some action down here. Graham Fleet is refueled. It'll be making its jump in finally to deal with Villas and then figure out what the hell happened. The problem is that the Sword Worlds probably can't handle these colonials. Maybe the 3rd Assault could. It's a decent sized force, but I don't know. Sword Worlds is too. So I don't know. I would rather have them combined though to fight that fleet. Because numbers are incredibly important. When you're looking at the space combat especially, you're doing just how many step hits that I do based on my combat factors. The defense doesn't, it's kind of interesting, the defense doesn't prevent hits, so even a weak hit is going to take a step loss on something. which is not exactly how space combat should work in the Traveler universe. Like a small ship, like a cruiser, probably can't hurt a fleet that puts dreadnoughts in their front line. You know, it just probably can't. If you've ever played High Guard, you'll see that. The Vargar, unfortunately, I had this jump here, and I've got forces coming into Ferry to do something there, and we'll probably be able to take that. I don't know. It's got a fair-sized defense on it, so I don't know. That might end up being the end of the Vargar fleet, just because the Imperial reserves that are ready to fight them. I think, yeah, there's a base there. Here, like I said, we're doing this weird positioning where the first assault fleet moved over here. The 17th Colonial is jumped to without enough capability, so it's going to have to limp its way through here and join up on the Regina attack. Bad planning. That almost always happens to me. Because I see, hey, I'm able to hit all of this, but there's nothing that gets me across there. And then I've got the other remaining fleets, and I want to keep that second assault away from the first for various reasons, hitting Nankej, which may not be a great place to hit. It's got water, so I may be able to refuel eventually. It may be a one-turn delay on refueling, but that D base is not going to... Basically, I'm not going to be able to launch very hard, and it's so damn pointless. Pixie's an interesting case up here. That, I abandoned it, but another fleet moved in, so it's still under Zodane Allied control, but it's not really in a position where I can't really afford to hold it. If I land troops there, they'll probably get eliminated. If I leave squadrons there, they'll get killed. So I'm going to lose those 13 points sometime in the near future. I hope I'm remembering the double points for Jewel, or I hope I did. So yeah, we got a couple of battles to undertake, 3 of them. 3 places where there's something interesting going on. And I'm taking my time talking for no good reason, but I just don't want to do the battles yet. List of things taking up time is also reading. I started reading more, but I haven't been the last couple of days, but whatever I did today. If you listen in the background, I got a little owl going. So I did one of the attacks, 3rd Assault Fleet against Flume. I have a move plotted for a 3rd Assault Fleet. They could not refuel, sort of. Everything is fully streamlined, though, except for the tanker and the battleships. I gotta count the battleships again. If there's 6 of them, which I think there is, I actually can't make the jump. Otherwise, I have to try to make it, I think. There are 6. This is turn 4. So I'm going to have to insert a refuel turn in there. And I will turn this upside down. I've captured the planet. I've gotten the 8 victory points. But I'm unable to make the jump because I miscalculated. It's not a big deal. A similar situation up here in Nankej. I'm not sure I'm going to hold this planet. It's worth only 2 victory points, and using a decent unit to hold 2 victory points is a little expensive. On the other hand, abandoning planets is a really iffy thing. I mean, it's a matter of, I got to get to that 300, and I got a fair amount of garrisons. I don't know how much any particular ship means. I probably should have pulled something off of Jewel, one of these very damaged units, to grab Nankej, but I didn't, and that's life. I still have to deal with ferry, how hard is that going to be? Ferry's the big one. Ferry's an interesting situation. I ended up blowing up. It's hard to kill them all. 60% of the, somewhere around here, this was my roll position. I got an even roll against that tech level of 5, half tech level of 5. I got 60% of the SDB. Then they went into hiding. It's not really important which way it went, but they had to take cover. They can't keep fighting more than one round because I don't want to let that SDB squadron get destroyed, because then the planet could be taken, conceivably. We did some bombardment, and we're looking at quite a large force. I have an interesting set of choices here, which I have to keep in mind of my plots. The Youth was plotted to refuel next turn anyway, which means I am not going to be able to get out of there in time. The Gazelle fleet is going to join me, so if the 212th is coming in, it'll be at that point. The Gazelle fleet I could conceivably refuel, although that would... I could refuel the, whatever this is, the Youthith fleet. But then who refuels the Gazelle fleet? So next turn, I'll have both my fleets combined there. So I'm going to hold off, not do a landing. I think that's the best move right now. And that should take care of all of my battles. What's up with this? I think I just take this marker off. And this is unrefueled, so I'll turn it upside down. And that'll put me to next turn's plot. One of the... Well, I just, after finishing turn 4's movement, combat, whatever, and doing the plotting, I'm into turn 5 now. One of the things that I'm realizing is a kind of an issue. The well-led fleets movement, or whatever, all the things that are unplotted movement, essentially, actually. But most importantly, the well-led fleet is somewhat painful. When I'm doing my plots, I'm aligning all my movement and looking, hey, is this on this turn? Okay. And it may not work out, and I may even just screw up. I mean, it may not work out because I don't get the refueling, which I might not even know correctly. But I may just screw up in terms of getting things aligned properly. I find it a lot more difficult with the zero, with the things that I can move immediately, in terms of how long is it going to take for me to do something. Because, I don't know, I'm working all the plots at the same time. So I wish there were no zero leaders. I wish they were all the one-turn leaders, because the one-turn plot is essentially a zero plot. Damn near. There's a little bit of additional information that you might have about the opponent's well-led units. Maybe. That's it. Is to coordinate that zero leader fleet. I have to go back and look at all the movement plots again, which, when I was doing that at one point would be fine. And honestly, if you were not taking pauses between turns and whatnot, it probably wouldn't be that big a deal, because you've just done your movement plots and now it's time to move. There's not a whole hell of a lot in between. But I know I've always found a problem with this. So at whatever pace I played this game, I probably always took breaks or whatever. Refueling going on. We're heading back up this way. What about these guys? Okay, we're going to attack this, and this is going to be kind of painful. Plavin is, I think, a water planet. No, yeah, It's a water planet, which means I'm going to have to spend a turn to refuel there because that's a big fleet going through. Same thing here, but I finally got the Graham fleet up with the Joyous fleet so we can attack. Here we did refuel. Here we did refuel. Here we're going to have to refuel. Here we're going to have to refuel. The Imperials retook Pixie, so the 13 points for that came back. I wasn't able to hold it with the Vargar, but the Vargar may be able to stumble around and grab points down here that it's hard for the Imperials to deal with. They can go chasing them and hopping on planets after the Vargar have hit them, and that takes the 213th out of play, and maybe I can break up, I got a couple extra fleets here and capture more planets up above. Or not, I don't know. Probably got to keep at least one big fleet on the line watching things. All right. That'll take us to combat. I'm not going to conquer Plaven. It's only worth 1.5 points. I don't know. What do I got here? 17th Colonial. I mean, I got a lot of troops, but 1.5 points seems so pathetic. Realizing would be wise is make sure I have all my pieces in play at all times. So I spent a lot of troop replacements to get a unit up to full strength. I don't know if that's so necessary. What I really need is individual units that I can drop on planets, things like this, and get that 1.5 points. I haven't lost any pieces yet, but yeah, it does seem a little, it seems a little wasteful to spend it on something that, is just a few extra strength points in combat. One scoring error here. It's hard to tell. The subsector capitals are in red. Well, something like Rylander is capitalized. That sounds pretty cool. Frenzy is not, and I didn't really notice it because of that. So I'm up 10 more points than I counted myself. I thought Villas was the capital because it's in capitals and it's important. But as I look more and more, I'm seeing the subsector capitals are all, and sector capitals are all capitalized. So we'll go with that. I'm sorry, are all in red, not capitalized. Hey. Villas fight, like the Jewel fight, is a real one. I took 10% on the SDBs. One hit over here. The SDBs are going to start to wear down. It might be, it's a hard call. It might behoove me to allow the Sword Worlds to land. Then I'll let them refuel and let their fleet fly off if it wants to. On the other hand, I have 1,600 guys there. It's going to be hard for Sword Worlds to capture this without devoting kind of all of their troops to it. And then their troops are on a planet. Maybe the SDBs are still around. I can't just leave the troops there. I have to keep suppressing the SDBs each turn in order to keep my troops viable so that I'm the one who's allowed to bombard. On the other hand, I can start my bombardment right away and I get an extra round of bombardment. I think this is really hard because I think it's a bigger delaying tactic to leave the SDBs there. I don't know how many troops the Sword Worlds have. Yeah, I think they can get about 1-to-1 and they can bombard me. Oh, no, they cannot get 1-to-1. Is it worth taking a round of bombardment? Because if they land their troops, I can mop the floor with, well, I can do a lot of damage to them. Even, see, the problem is I'm tech level 10. So even if I get good odds, they're not going to be that good. The longer I can wait, the more chance of the Rimward forces sweeping over and being able to deal with Sword Worlds. Of course, the riches are all up here. At least I think they are. I don't know. There's things like Tremis, but that's over here. La Bow, but I don't think that's... See, this is the problem again, and someone suggested I write the hex numbers in the planets, and that would kind of help. It would still be hard. It would still be hard. But I could at least get locational. Labao is over here in Zidane territory, so that's not a big point thing. Yeah, there just are not that many point gainers in the Imperial territory over here. So I might be more willing to send the fleet this way, in which case still want to slow down the Sword World's fleet as much as possible. Yeah, I think I'm going to let them bomb. I'm going to go underground with the SDBs. Getting some bombing damage, a good 20% on that big 1500, I think there's there. It also allows me to refuel the the two fleets. I realigned my fleets. I'm sending the tanker back so this cruiser can get refitted back at Mjolnir. My damaged cruiser only has a jump 1. It's not able to make it back on its own. I need the tanker to help it. That's kind of a shame, but a tanker isn't really all that helpful with the size of fleet that I've devoted. Unfortunately, I'm using the Joyous fleet. I'd much rather be using the Graham fleet, but I had already set it up by fleet name and commander, and I screwed up. I gotta swap them because the Joyous fleet has the lower ranked commander, even though he's a better commander. To fix things, I knock more things over. The reason for this swapping, there's no technical reason in the game you gotta do it, but I got my orders already pre-plotted for the 2 turns on him, the 4 turns on him. And I'm a little fuzzy on what happens if you replace admirals. It's not well defined as far as, certainly not in my mind, and I don't think it's well defined in the rules either. Anyway, I'm chatting a lot, and I don't like that. Locations where battles actually are required, and honestly, Flume is, yeah, Grant is not. Okay. Where battles were actually required, we didn't get anything and we didn't land troops. We did bomb the shit out of this ferry, is it? Yeah. We may be in some trouble there. I have to see whether or not we can jump because the 213th is, or 212th is coming down. It just is. I know the plot for it. Yeah, it's one of the problems with playing solo. You might remember some of your movement plots. I have enough trouble remembering my own, whatever side I'm thinking of at any given time, but this is a move that I do remember. And the hammer either falls or it doesn't, If the Vargar can get out of there, they're going to, but if they've got plots that don't work, they got their best admiral there, they might be out. They can get away. I am running into some problems where I've made a few mistakes on my plots. I try to correct them because it's like I get a hex number wrong or I get the fleet confused or something like that. And it's very clear that I'm doing the wrong thing. So in this case, the 16th Colonial was trying to jump here, which it's not allowed to do. I got it confused with the 17th Colonial's plot. The 16th is supposed to go here. But that brought me to the interesting thing. The reason it's going there is to refit its damaged ships. Now I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damaged ships. And I have like 30 repair points, so I can throw them all in. There's no problem with that. What there is a problem with is that the rules don't specify any limit on the number of ships that you can repair. Or more specifically, they've chosen a wording that makes the limit not appear to be there, but it's not absolutely certain. So I looked at the squadrons are used to rebuild squadrons. A reduced strength squadron may be rebuilt at any friendly base within the borders of its state. However, only scout squadrons can be rebuilt at scout bases. There's nothing... Like, that A may mean 1, or like it kind of sounds like 1, but normally when you want to specify something like that, rule books will say 1, and maybe even they'll say and only 1. And 1 seems like a tremendously small number for what you can repair at a naval base. I would imagine, you know, at least 6 or so ships at a time could be repaired at a major naval base. So I'm not going to put a restriction at all on. I don't think 1 is intended by the use of the word A, but I could be wrong, you know. And I'm sure people, as they do with the whether or not you can peek through other people's stacks or their offboard stuff, I think it's kind of it's just sort of left up in the air, you know, which would not surprise me that much. All right. So, yeah, I'm trying to figure out my plots for turn 6, for the end of turn 5, because, and that's the whole deal. The 16th Colonial will be here next turn. If they fully refit, I can send that fleet off to go do stuff. Back to the orders writing as you keep going just gets more and more painful. I canceled out the wrong fleet here. It's this one that's gone. This one's got moves still programmed in, and I am getting away. I had moves programmed to go to Roop. I don't want to be near that thing. That thing's big like I am, you know. It's bigger than me probably. So yeah, it looks scarier, and I'm gonna head down and try to combine up with the 3rd Assault Fleet. Oh, I still got to do the Imperial plotting, but there isn't much of that. But yeah, the movement plot, I find it very helpful for solo play. I find that it obscures what I'm trying to do. I think it makes the game work better in that sense. I would not want to play this thing opposed, because that mechanism is great for solo. And I know people are like, oh no, it's movement plot. You can't play this game movement plot. No, I disagree. But that movement plot aspect of it, at least through the techniques that I'm using, maybe there's, you know, maybe I could use something better. Oh, the chickens are there. I don't know if you can see them. They're almost never there, unless that's turkeys. That may be turkeys. Yeah, they're too big to be chickens. Well, the one's a baby. There are some chickens that sometimes show up there, but that's definitely not a chicken. But anyway, the movement plot works as a really great way to hide intentions and capabilities from the other player, or from the other part of my brain or whatever. Yes, I've been aware of this, but as the board gets more complex, I'll have even less awareness. Maybe I'll still keep a single thing, but that's the best I can do. Whereas if I was playing opposed, dealing with that extra burden, it just wouldn't add that much. The main thing about the movement plot that it really adds to me is the uncertainty of what I'm doing, not the uncertainty of what my opponent's doing. Even though I've done the Zodan and the Vargar orders, and I know where they're going to go, and it's in the top of my mind because this is the thing I'm thinking about, right? Well, I try to figure out what are reasonable choices for the Imperials. One is to go to Roop, which is where the Vargar are going. Another might be to head this way, but there's too many Zodani there. I'm more interested in linking up with whatever reserves are coming in. If I can kill the Vargar, that would be great. And I think this is a safe shot at it. So I went 50-50. It's also not clear where they're going, you know, to the Imperial player. But Roop or this way seems to be the more likely. Roop is a more dangerous thing. Anyway, I'm ending up going there, so, you know, we're not going to have that big fight. We're not even going to have the running chase, although I suspect the Vargar will keep running away because they don't know, and they have no reason to stick around. They're just going to fly by and bomb things and head for the wealthiest section that they can get to. They're not strong enough to face that 212. Finish up my plots. The remainder of the plots for the Imperials, I was pushing these fleets forward. Well, this one's going to keep limping forward. It's a jump one squadron. Not too worried about it. But this one is a problem. I don't like where he's heading, and so I canceled his moves, and I'm heading him back towards the rimward reinforcement location. It's just an assault ship with a bunch of troops on it, and it's not going to help anything particularly. And I don't like where it's going. These ships are basically all just meat, not the scouts. They can get away. But whatever's out here that was set up, and I bet you they're colonial ships that were forced where they were, the only way to get them out of there would have been to gather them up. And it's possible the Duke of Regina could have gathered them up and started limping back this way before the assault fleet came. I didn't do that. I viewed that it was more important, I guess, to get consolidated with the 212 there for whatever that's worth. All right, that puts us going into turn 6 and me ready to start my workday. So this, I believe, is our big turn 6, which is when the rimward reinforcements come in. They're available now, but that's not enough. Again, this might be a place where you could twist things a little bit. So they don't have an admiral with them to begin with, but there are admirals that I moved into the box, right? There are forces that I've moved in there to join them. Conceivably, I might have given orders to a fleet, but the fleet disappeared. I took it off the map when it entered that box, that they could join. I don't think there's anything in opposition to picking up units there. So I could have actually had orders under this commander to start moving this fleet out. As it stands, I'm going to have a 1-turn delay because he has to write his orders this turn. He's not actually going to do it. Yeah, it's not terrible. But what if I had a 4-turn delay instead of a 1-turn delay? That would be pretty painful. You know, if the command orders were different. So conceivably, whoever was there probably should have left their fleet together and written orders for it. That would have been, I think, this task force 17. I actually have another fleet, another couple fleets kicking around for some reason or another. I don't know where they're from. But yeah, there's a couple fleets I didn't use. What would I do? You know, I don't know. To some extent, what you would say is it kind of doesn't make sense. Let's say I didn't send any admirals here. This grouping is with a fleet to get to where, or multiple fleets, to get to where it is, and has had, you know, time to plot out the next 5 turns of movement. By not putting an energetic leader in there, and I'm going to do this the same with the Zidani as well, but by not having a leader in there initially, I'm taking a penalty, but I'm not sure that's the intention for the game. Replacements? I don't think there are any to be placed. Okay. Big pile here is a fast-moving group. Probably actually high-tech, which is kind of weird because, like, the colonial troops or colonial ships are given a lower quality. But those seem to be pretty high-tech units compared. I don't know if there's any of the regular Navy that's slower than that. Certainly the colonials that are out in the Spinward area are not high jump capable. So And the tech level down here, for the most part, is pretty crappy. Although, like I said, I think there's a 16 kicking in here somewhere. I don't know where. Probably over here. And that would be a really valuable place to hit. I know that there's a Tech 16 unit, but yeah, I think it's a mercenary unit. Anyway, we'll leave that be because I don't see a Tech 16 planet. Although the Ancients are in here somewhere, among other places. So we've got the 193rd Fleet. I should have made it the Corridor Fleet, but I've already put it, I can make it the Corridor Fleet, damn it. All right, I will. Imperials didn't have a lot to do. We went chasing down to Ferry or whatever, but the Vargers are running away. We've got attacks here at Roop coming in here. There's actually a ship there that's going to get blown up. And the Sword World's still fighting here, shifting these guys. These are refueling. These guys are going to where they can recover. But we basically have just a couple of attacks here, here, and here, and here. Which I will take care of later. The big first assault fleet is holding off because it needed to refuel. Okay. That happened during the discretionary movement or whatever. We got a scout ship that picked up this admiral to go move him somewhere. I don't know where I want him. Still have to move him to the Corridor Fleet. Interest, not able, even with 3 troop transports that moved in there, not able to pick up everything here. I think I've got another troop transport kicking around somewhere. I don't know, it's in one of these fleets, isn't it? But this is a really slow one, and it's loaded up with a big force, so I don't know, how much more I want it to do. In fact, I'm kind of not thrilled with it getting so close to the enemy. So maybe it should go back and start ferrying troops here, but who knows. The big thing is to get things onto the map where, they can start having an effect on play. And the troop transports aren't the big deal there. I mean, if you hit a force with troop transports and battleships and whatnot, if you hit a planet with that, it almost invariably doesn't have a very big garrison on it. The Imperial worlds start with bigger garrisons on them because they just had them there to begin with. I mean, they're being conquered, so there's more work to knock those out, but the idea of like leaving a 500 troop garrison somewhere is kind of painful, especially if you're the Zodani. I mean, you need those forces to wipe out the ground troops that are standing on the planets. Now, that will not be the case when the counterattack comes. What we'll see is that it's a lot easier to dislodge the attackers than it was to take the ground. On the other hand, what it all really comes down to is when and where the big naval battles happen. Because whoever gets control of, the spaceways can just move their troops wherever the hell they want. So the question is, how long can the Imperials wait as they get their reinforcements, and how close will the Zodani get to their 300 points or whatever they want to do? And turn 26 comes around, they don't need 300. If things start looking a little shaky, they can declare victory and just say, well, give me this subsector. Yeah, that's fine. Well, I ended up falling asleep, passing out, mainly because I was playing a computer game that got me so dizzy. And this wasn't like an action one. This is an adventure game, but kind of a real-life action, in the sense that you have to move around through locations. And it's just the movement is really hitting me. Something I mentioned in another one. Anyway. Started taking the battles on, try to finish this turn off. The Sword World still chipping away at Villas here. Up here, 2nd Assault Fleet has an option, and We'll get to these later. I haven't done it yet. Lousy. Yeah, I have to fight it. It doesn't have a gas giant. I thought it had a gas giant. Okay. It's got a lot of troops and a lot of SDBs, and I would rather not fight that. So if there had been a gas giant there, I would have bypassed it. As it stands, though, I don't even have a tanker with me, so I guess I have to blast my way through it. Oops. Counters are causing me real problems. I started pawing in, fortunately, through the first assault fleet. I think. I'm not sure. Maybe this was over here. I don't know. But then the stack fell apart. And it's the glossy counters, which weren't so bad until I clipped them. As long as they had the little ragtag ends, they kind of cling to each other. But without them, they don't. I gotta check, because I don't know. The first assault fleet is smaller than, I think, the 17th Colonial. So I got to make sure that I maintain that. I think this may have come from second. A problem with crowded off-board displays is that I put shit in the wrong place, especially when they're numbered and, you know, it's one thing when we're talking every now and then it'll happen in like the Zucker games. But in this, I'm really having trouble remembering where I pulled a stack from. Maybe it's just my brain is dead. Thinking that this was first assault fleet that I was pawing through. First of all, it's damaged. I don't think second assault fleet got its forces all chewed up. It's been kind of avoiding the big stack because he would take command of everything. But I'm sort of at a loss. You know, I am not convinced I have the right ships in the right place, basically. Because I know that I brought one of these colonials into there, and I just don't know what I'm looking at anymore. So down here, running into real problems here. I have a tanker with me. I took damage on it. My fleet, the problem is my bombardment capability is right at the level, and it may have dropped below, where, you know, I have to roll, and it's a 4 or higher to do any damage at all. And the reason is because of this damn 500 size, even though it's only 250 now. There's, you know, as it's gotten weakened, it's no longer as effective, or it's, I'm sorry, it's significantly more effective at avoiding damage than something that started out the same size. Now, I kind of I don't know. I got no argument for why a force that's been reduced 50% is sturdier than a force that originally started at that size. It's a very disturbing concept. Now, you can maybe make some hand-wavy arguments about, like, I don't even know what, you know, that the force isn't really that small. That might make sense on ground combat or something, but man, it really defies my ability to comprehend what the game is trying to show here in the space combat. I did a significant amount of losses to that SDB squadron, and it is harder now to kill because, yeah, I've taken a few hits as well, but I have to keep attacking it as though it's a 500 base, even though it shoots back at only a 250. But its 250 is enough to generally do some damage to me. 500 is not enough. I may whittle my ships down. I've started taking hits, permanent hits on ships, because it may be my only way out of there is to use the tanker and run. The net effect, I refuel. I've got enough, including the tanker, I've got enough that I can pull out of there, I guess. Where I can go is kind of iffy. Can I get to Minorb? Is that worth going to? I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna have to fight my way out of wherever I end up. I can't find Minorb. Oh, it's on this map. That's why. HIJK. No, there were. Well, that's only 50. I might be able to blow up 50. The problem is I don't have. How about a Lel? The real problem is that I don't have enough firepower to blow my way through the 500. Even though that 500 is now down to $150. I can't fight it on as if it's 150. That's just not how the combat system works. That's a major problem to me. The fact that I am able to reduce it, but because the two combat charts work in different ways, I'm going to make sure that's the case. If it's not, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do to reverse it. But that is certainly the impression that I had. And right now I'm just like, I don't have enough jump speed to get me anywhere. I could strand myself somewhere. I only have jump 2. So it's like, can I refuel at Ueki? I don't know. Ueki I could definitely refuel at. It would take me a while, and I might be a danger for the 212th to wipe out. But Jesus, I don't know. Pieces here. Roll 1 die from this, subtract half the tech level of the SDBs, additionally subtract 3 if the modified cross indicates the total bombardment and the full, not current, strength of the SDBs on the table. That's where the problem is. And it's weird because elsewhere, if that wasn't that specific, elsewhere it talks about troop defense and SDB units which have taken losses use their current strengths in combat, not their full strength. But we've got a very specific reversal of that rule or that statement when we're actually talking about bombing the SDBs. And I think it's the only place where there's something like that, because nowhere else are you attacking just based on the on the strength of the item that you're attacking, right? And there's just something wrong with the way this chart is handled. On the other hand, what would you do? I mean, you could, instead of using the 500, you could use that 120, but what if it's in between, etc.? So there would have to be rules to handle that if that was the case, and they're not there. Anyway, we get an interesting situation where some low-tech fucking SDBs in huge quantities whittled my fleet down to the point where it cannot possibly harm them anymore, even though if they were originally as strong, only as strong as they were, they would be pretty easy to wipe out. I would still take losses, and that would be a fair result. And now I've got to figure out some kind of movement plot modification, and I'll probably have to sit here for a while. Well, it's not going to be a while. Yeah, it is. I have to sit there for a while my stupid admiral, who's got a two-turn recycle rate, thinks about how he's going to get out of there. Now, it's a hard problem, so I can understand why he's going to take so long. In fact, I may want to abandon my tanker and just let it sit there rather than bring it with me, because I think it's my only jump 2 ship. Everything else has jump 3, and that might be a better solution than anything else. And as it is, I've lost a battleship and two battleships, one battleship and a couple of cruisers, and a lot of my firepower, and I just don't know. It's a horrible situation that just happened that I can't explain what actually happened. All right, we got one more battle over here. Oh, we got a naval battle too. Trying to pick up another fucking stack of pieces, and boom, they spray all over. Luckily, there's nothing damaged there, so I can re-handle it. But man, and even with tweezers, these clipped glossy counters from this era just fucking don't stand together. The only thing that held them together was leaving the nubs on them. And you had to leave kind of nasty ones or else they were still too slippery. I hate glossy counters. The only thing worse than them is glossy counters on glossy maps, glossy rule books. It was largely a failure for the Zidani. Not only did I screw up here, at Extole, too big a force for me to really handle easily on the ground. So rather than try to take it over, I'm going to hold off. I don't believe I'm streamlined enough to refuel this turn anyway. We'll see. You know, I got 40% of it on the bombing run. I mean, you can make a big army disappear real fast. The SDBs, slightly different matter, but I was able to wipe them out without losses. There weren't many there. Roop here, you know, I was able to do a little damage, but I don't want to fight 3,000 men and leave a garrison behind or whatever when I could bomb it, especially not for a 6-point planet. I'm streamlined enough. That fleet is ready to go, and it can keep running away from the 213th, and we'll see what's going to happen there. But basically, I gained nothing this turn. And lost a fair amount in terms of like this fleet just getting hosed by low-tech ships that were unable to be wiped out because they plinked off enough of my ships, even though, yeah, I mean, they didn't plink off a very large proportion. I wiped out half of their force, more than half their force, 70% of their force. But now I'm too small to hurt their entire force, and that's what I'm being matched against. So, yeah, got to get out of there. And I think my safest route out is to abandon the tanker. We'll write our orders. And I can't do some kind of automatic retreat orders. By the way, this thing got wiped out. Had I been hitting it with a smaller fleet, it might have been able to retreat the only way it can move. I guess it's time to write those stupid orders now. Boy, am I frustrated this turn. Another option is I could give up the big advantage of that second assault fleet having, the first assault fleet having a significantly better commander. I would end up with 2 worse commanders, though, on the first 2 fleets that I would end up having. I could jump up to here and maybe free those guys up. I don't think it's worth it. I think the cost of a tanker and withdrawing and trying to gather another fleet together is more reasonable. But that's what I'm faced with between the command restrictions, which I don't mind at all. And I don't mind, you know, that it hurts to hit SDBs, even low-tech ones. That's not a big deal. What is a big deal is just the way that fucking chart works. And the glossy stuff. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure where to send this fucker. So I got sort of a compromise solution. Flexibility of movement's really important. Combat bonus, maybe not so much at this point in the game. The Imperials don't have a big fleet on the board. I am sending the tanker with a commander who's going to replace the commander of the first assault fleet. He's going to be just as good in terms of reactive capabilities, but he loses that big +3 bonus in combat. But who knows? Maybe one of these fleets is going to be under that, you know, is going to be important enough or whatever. Those are going to be large fleets. So I don't necessarily need that +3 combat in the frontline leader. In fact, that might lead me to fight a battle that I don't want to fight, having that good a leader in there. And that might end up losing me that good a leader. So I want him in charge of the biggest fleet I can get him on. But that may not be, you know, you want it firstest with the mostest, not, I don't know. But yeah, I think that other commander can handle the 213th. I'm not sure he can handle whatever comes out here, the corridor fleet, when that comes out. It doesn't look that huge, though. First assault's pretty big. I don't know. There's a lot of troops in there. But I am planning on trying to get that connected with the Uthith or something along those lines. Question, of course, is, well, if I'm sending that, why don't I send some more? Why limit myself? So he's got 5 ships. As long as I keep 4 in each. I like this big cruiser here. It's got a lot of bombardment capability. Oh wait, that's not 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Why don't we send a battleship instead? It's almost as good as the cruiser. We'll keep that thing there. And first assault, yeah. I want to make sure that I'm not like getting rid of a 4-jump fleet. This actually was close to a 4-jump fleet. And that way, because this has the capability to run quickly, I can get it to a fate, and I can get this to a fate at the same time. And I think we can handle a fate. If fate's not all that big, it's got 150 boats, but I also have the covert troops to back me up. So if I can suppress the SDBs, I can take the planet pretty easily. It's a big base, and it's kind of right in the center of everything. It looks really valuable to me. And on the other side, for the Imperials, the only really interesting things, I mean, over here, I'm going to be chasing into Roop. I don't know where I'm going after that. 2913? Oh, actually, I'm not heading into Roop. Yeah, I'm heading down this way to gather together with the 214, I guess, for whatever that's worth. It's incredibly slow, and I probably don't really want to combine with it all that much. Which was that? It's a lower ranking admiral. He's really good in combat. But yeah, I want that extra firepower in case this area is threatened. I just don't feel like my fleet can handle anything except maybe the Uthith, right? Which looks like it's running away towards the Zodan fleets, which means, yeah, I can't really do anything. I could move up and recapture planets, maybe even capture enemy planets. If the points were scary, I would be heading that way. But I probably make those decisions too late to be any good. But then we've got the Corridor Fleet, which is almost entirely streamlined, is very, very high jump value, and we're going to move that up and try to get that into the same range and try to get one fighting fleet to face the broken up Zodani fleets, because, you know, obviously I'm facing, I got one that's kicking around back here that's got forever, yeah, it's going to take a long time to get into play because it's slow. I've got replacements and whatnot funneling back and forth fine. And then I'm facing this, which just got itself defeated. It ran into a planet and hurt itself. So we're looking at really 2 major Zodani fleets, and or the Sword World fleet, which I feel like they're stuck in a toilet somewhere. They're having too much trouble against Villas to, you know, it's taking them forever. They're going to win it, but it means that they're not going to be in on the big battle if it happens here early on. So if I can keep these fleets separated, maybe hitting one of them will work if I can combine forces, especially if I can get the Corridor Fleet into play. If I can't get that into play, I think I'm outnumbered and don't really want to fight. So that's the end of the turn. And it was a painful one. I think I'll run away for a while. Maybe tomorrow morning I'll feel... I felt good this morning. I took a nap. Well, passed out, whatever, from video game sickness, which screwed my whole day. We are at the replacement and reinforcement phase. This is turn 7, I think. Yeah. Turn 7, which means nothing exciting happens except we have some forces in play ready to do replacements. Now, I'm going to look for the replacement points. I hate pulling this. Just make sure there's not a... Yeah, there's only troop replacements for the Imperials. And I don't really want to. I might build... See, this is low tech. I think I've been through this before. I don't really want to. I don't need more troops. But for the Zodani, we have squadron replacements, and there's two factors we have to keep in mind here. First of all, I've got some here in the 16th Colonial, if that's the right fleet, that need to be replaced. And I'm just going to rebuild them, I think. They each cost me 1 squadron point. I have 30. So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know if there's anything that I just don't want. 5, 6, 7, 8 points to rebuild those. However, last turn, something terrible happened, and I lost some other ships. Now, I can completely rebuild a squadron. In the reinforcements box, the problem with that is I don't have anybody to lead those squadrons. I don't need someone. All I need is a fleet, and I could write some orders. But it'll take me about as long to get my provincial governor over there to lead them, and then I can make the decision on that. Plus, actually, I don't even need that. I'll be getting a huge fleet about the same time. My speed of movement, I don't really know how quick my cycle is going to be in terms of that. But these are all reasonable speed ships, C3, jump 4. So I'm just going to do those 8 repairs. And what I do is I mark them as I flip them over here, and then I just subtract 8 off that. So it's kind of sputtering at this point. The Sword World's here, yeah, we're peeling something off and limping home. Grand Fleet is actually refueled. I got myself in a little confusion there. It's so fucking easy. Where I scratched out numbers for Grand Fleet and had to put them back into play. Because the thing is, I got the refueling because the SDBs hid. And that's the only reason I got a refueling in there. But I chose not to land on the planet and try to take it because it would be too much work right now. It's just, there's a lot of information that's present, and some of the ways of keeping track of it I have to make up on my own and are not terribly good. Imperials are just kind of shifting around, although we have this fleet here at Wushir. This is the combined 17th Task Force and 212. It's the main strike force right now, except we got a new one coming out. The Quarter Fleet has pushed its way onto the board. The one most interesting thing is over here at Rylanor. I had a couple of cruisers that couldn't get out of there. I threw a bunch of scouts in with them. Those scouts aren't going to help them win the battle, but they can take some losses in order for the cruisers to retreat. And then, I don't know, maybe I can get them out of there. Scouts are useful, but they're only useful for bombing planets or for taking losses. But they're useful for bombing planets, and they're really, really good for preventing losses to a fleet. Which kind of makes sense. You use them as kind of a screen or something so that the rest of the fleet can get away. And that's what I'm doing with them here. That planetary bombardment capability, I don't even understand it. This is a naval base, so I'm going to be up to full strength there. I have one attack on a Fate. Notice I left Grant behind uncontrolled. There's no reason to own it. It has no people. It's not worth victory points, and it's pretty easy to take something if it's lightly defended, if you're just looking at it for a refueling base. So this is the only battle of any significance. We got the bombardment continuing here, which I ought to mark lousy is technically possible battle, but I'm refueled and just waiting for orders to get out of there. I don't want to fight those SDBs again, and that's entirely the fleet's choice. It has to choose to close. By the way, it's one of the weird things, like I went into all this detail about how I subtracted 8 from here. You don't need to know that kind of thing. I don't need to clarify stuff like that, but I get in the habit of explaining everything because some of the stuff is like actually important, and then I go off on stupid shit that I really don't need to tell you about. All right, we'll get on to those combats. The patient of removing a chip when I don't have a conflict, when I finished the conflict and haven't taken the territory, got in kind of my way. I didn't notice I had a conflict here. Extolay fell basically due to bombardment. I had to drop 1,000 troops to take the planet to fight it, but the tech level difference was enough that getting on like the 5-to-1 table got me guaranteed or almost guaranteed kills. I mean, there's no such thing as a guaranteed kill, and got me down to where I could not take damage from the enemy. Basically, my troops are so technologically superior that no one could get hurt. You know, somebody might sprain their ankle or something out of those large forces. That is possible. But it's not possible that no one can get hurt no matter what the odds. You have to get the odds trimmed down, and getting rid of that big 115C garrison was absolutely vital to wiping that out. And then the 10 points went over there. I've still got the battles to resolve. I have to check and see if I have to get to work before before I can get to them. I know I'm getting close. One of the optional rules, the squadron quality, optional rules tend to be this way. Not necessarily as well thought out as possible, especially in some of these older games. It doesn't specify what's up with Sword Worlds and Vargar forces. I'm going to treat these as regular Zodani forces, which means I get a naval advantage against these colonials. Fucking idiot. I've been taking things as step losses. They're losses against the defenses. Fleets have been dissolving too quickly. I think that's the case across the board. I don't fucking have time to look this shit up. When SDBs fire, implemented the same, yeah. The combat result is the number of defense factors that must be eliminated. So, when I get, I don't know, I think I got a 6 against these, and this is why the scouts matter. When I get 6 hits on them, it's not 6 steps, which is what I've been doing. And so the Zodani have been hit up a little harder than they should have been. I think I did the naval combat right. It's just later. Once I get to the SDBs, I'm on a different chart, I'm on different rolls, and it's different. And so that's 6 hits. I probably want to take, I'll kill a couple of scouts. And now I'm allowed to retreat. Unfortunately, I only have a jump 1 group, but I'm in Regina. Where do we want to go? I mean, there's nowhere safe. That's the problem. That's the real problem with using those scouts, is they could have survived. I'm not sure these cruisers can. And the cruisers themselves did no damage. And now I resolved the attack on Regina, which is almost certain to not be over right away. If I can find Regina, there it is. Yeah, it's got, well, it doesn't have much in the way of SDBs. Dealing with Regina here, and I gotta find it. We did a fair amount of hits to it, and are just taking our slow time bombing the large ground forces there. The ground forces aren't the problem. It's the SDBs, and there weren't many there. So we got an 80%. They went hiding, and you know. So we swooped in and bombed the ground forces. Great. That's sort of standard delaying, whatever. F8, though, is another one of these, oh fuck, I hit something big. And this isn't a surprise, it's all on the map, it's preset. There was another 150 there, nowhere near, you know, I mean, some of them get pretty big, right? I don't think anything goes up to 5,000, but I don't know what the biggest ones are. What is the one that killed us? Lousy. Lousy's the one that killed us. How big was that? That was 500. If Fate, a much more important planet, has a lot less. Lousy is a tech level 8 planet with this huge SDB force. If Fate is a tech level 13 planet with a pretty big one. Well, that pretty big one almost broke the back of the first assault fleet. It was a touch and go situation. As it is, I lost a couple of cruisers, that's it. And I have wiped out the SDBs. But I got lucky. It could have come to the point where maybe the fleet wouldn't be broken, but it would have a really hard time to where it wouldn't want to hit the SDBs anymore, and then it would be stuck there. And it's also got the 14th Colonial there, which is going to cause additional problems because I got to reassert the command, and probably my good commander is going to go running off with the first assault fleet containing, you know, this limping cruiser. I had to kill a cruiser just because I couldn't afford the losses to my bombardment strength. Now I can start working on the population, and I have this huge covert force as well to help with that, not just the bombardment. But again, the ground troops aren't the problem. They're just a speed bump. The SDBs are the big problem, and the Imperial Navy can't put up the kind of force that a single planet's SDBs can, which feels wrong to me. Beyond the things that feel wrong, largely the SDB is the worst thing in the game that I keep harping on, but it is really bad. But then there's the presentation and the mechanisms used to deal with things, which are very cumbersome in this game and very painful. I don't know why I enjoy this at all. It is a hideous, hideous game. It really is. But so I have to sort through these stacks looking for the fleet units only because they're carrying troops and they have to have the troops assigned on them, just like in Imperium and other games, but it's never been this big a problem. And count up the bombardment factors. And I have to keep doing this. Like, I had to do it multiple times for the SDBs. Now I have to do it for the ground forces. And it's important I get the exact amount for the ground forces. With the SDBs, I could kind of fudge and say, okay, I know I'm between 30 and 36 as long as I take this loss, whatever. But now with the ground forces, I have to know the exact amount again so that I can allocate any overflow to this extra unit. If there was only one unit there, I could have just done it with the, I know I'm above 30 and below 36. That was the last battle I have, which means I'm over to the plot segment, and this thing's too small for me to mark nicely, so I put this to the plotting and reorganization. I really do have to remember that there's something special going on here, though, so I'm going to keep a die there to help remind me, because I have to reorganize the fleets. I'm kind of cheating right now. I've got something running. I chose not to bring my coverts out of hiding because there's only 500 strength points of them. There's 900 strength points of troops there. I failed to bomb with that secondary bombing. I cheated anyway. I know actually that I had between 33 and 36. I say, without being sure, but I just didn't want to do the counting. It's too big a problem. So I don't get the planet there. Have I gained anything? I don't know. I think I took X delay. Yeah. This turn. Otherwise, not a lot in the way of gains. And this is just waiting for its orders to come around so it can escape. Actually, the solution to the first assault fleet in 14th Colonial is quite simple. I don't have to do much. I just swapped the admirals because they both were the same command rating, and that allows me to keep any plots, but it doesn't matter because they have plot factors of 1. What does matter is that 14th Colonial doesn't have a way to get home and repair itself. I have a tanker fleet that's out of fuel, and I basically have to win this battle in a fate to get my refueling capacity up. And then even if I do, I got a long walk home. I think it involves coming this way. So that 14th Colonial is going to just tag along, I guess, with a really crappy leader. I might just, with a really good leader that I don't want on it. So what I may do is I may consolidate them for now and bring it back into existence if I need it. I found myself making an error. So I flew this Joyous fleet, bringing my tanker to here, with the intention of going back here to repair, but I can't repair sword world ships. So I defueled my tanker, which sucks, and I'm going to head back to Villas, because why not? At least I get an extra bomb factor and the tanker and whatnot. So yeah, oops. I think this is about the point that I got to with other games of this, which is, oh wow, I'm blundering around and I'm not doing at all reasonable things because of the command system more than anything else, but also some of the difficulties with refueling. Then I find out, how much the SDBs fuck you over compared to what you think they should. Hey, I dropped them down to 10% of their total value. Now I can't hurt them anymore. Because I've taken losses, right? But nowhere near the losses that they've taken. So even if they're active and everything, they prevent me from being able to do a damn thing on the planet. It's those kind of things that I think generally sometime in the near future, as I'm pulling in, and then as I pull in the complexity of these additional fleets, and I don't know if I'll make it any further this time. I honestly do not. I'm beginning to feel the wear. I always look at this game with fondness, know that it has huge flaws, but also know that I enjoy it up to a point, and then that point is like, okay, I can't take it anymore. And it's just sort of I just can't handle it anymore, rather than oh wow, I wasn't having fun. It just goes to, it's like an on-off switch from I was having a lot of fun to, yeah, I just can't play. It's, I'm fucking up too much and whatever. And I think we'll see the same effect in play here, which is why I gave it kind of a weird rating, a middling rating, which I don't think it deserves. Like, for that initial few turns of great fun and whatever, it deserves a slightly higher rating. Not much. I mean, it's got a lot of problems to it. For the burden and the pain that the game eventually will turn to, I think it deserves a significantly lower rating, like around a 4. I gave it a 6, and it's sort of this average. I'm thinking somewhere a 4 on the negative end, maybe a 7 for the fun factor, even with the pain. But yeah, the only way I could just, and I always wanted to play it as a campaign backdrop. But I would have to, basically, you would have complete idiots running the Navy because of the actions that they take. Like, the players would would start finding out information about how, all the Zodani nobles with their psionics are doing, they're great. They can do all kind of neat stuff, maybe do some precog and stuff, but they're on drugs all the time. And the Imperials are I don't know, probably on drugs too. I mean, it's the only way to explain the actions that actually play out on the game. Oh, went out into empty space. Well, that was a mistake. Guess we'll head back now that we refueled up. It's just sort of Jesus, these bumpkins. the more fleets that get called into play, the more confusion there's going to be, and the more blunders, and the more ridiculous it's just going to get. But that's the end of turn 7. And now I'm going to go cry in my beer. Because that feels like the only way to handle this. What is this? 212? Why is it upside down? Oh, maybe I need an R there. Uh-oh. 212. Yeah, I programmed him for a move that I probably should be R'ing. Looks like I actually need an R for next turn, though. 2913 is what I'm jumping to. I have a capacity. That's 3 unstreamlined ships, a couple partially streamlined, and then some streamlined stuff. Good. So what am I looking at? I'm sitting here, whooshiers. All but the unstreamlined are fine, but it's an E base. So yeah, I'm gonna need to refuel for a turn that I didn't count on. So I'll delay my plot. My play is still slowing down, and memories of where exactly I am is somewhat difficult because I walk away during the turn, whatever. So I'm pretty sure I did make it up last night and do the movement plots. When I look at the time, I don't think I got beyond turn 7, and I'm seeing plots for turn 9 there. Plot for turn 11, which matches the numbers, so I think I'm in the right place. And I don't think that there's anywhere where I have the need to put replacements down, so I guess we just jump right into movement. Something a battle I forgot to do. It's not a big one. This Gugast, the big deal there was actually I had to land troops. And I decided to keep him, so 5 more victory points, yay. It's a good enough planet, what the hell. Because I'm not gaining ground quickly within the Imperium. Weird things, the Graham fleet left Villas, isn't able to get fuel by making raids on the planet, and went to guard a Villas, which should be easier to take. I don't know if I can take it in a turn, though, and I've got to jump back to Villas program, plus Joyous is going to Villas next turn. This guy was refueling. Oh, what this guy is refueling. We're back up here to get repairs. We can't rebuild our ships there. We could rebuild them here, and honestly, though, we're getting those reinforcements in a turn or two, so, well, 2 turns. I think it's a little late to do so. I can throw them in with that big fleet. That's what I talked about before. What is this? Okay, so we've got a few fights. We've got continuing fight here at Uthith. We got the Graham fight, and I think that may be it. I think Nozodani fleets are in a position where they're actually... Oh no, we got this up here. If Fate is still under battle. It's hard to see the blue under blue. It's hard to see anything under the blue. Maybe I should use the red ones for battles. Alright, we'll be back for the fights. Like operations still in play. Now Graham is not going to be able to get back to Villas this turn, or next turn. So, weird shit's going to happen there. Uthith, I haven't decided what 3rd Assault is doing. Or, I haven't looked it up. I think I've decided 2214 is where it's heading. Yeah, so they're going to head in and help at Regina and try to clear that up quickly. Might make one big fleet. Because we're worried, you know, now there's the quarter fleet in play. And these assault fleets, they're big, but even fights don't appeal. right? You want some odds in your favor. The thing is, the Uthith fleet is pretty damn streamlined and at a reasonable speed. Jump 2 sucks. Jump 3 can get most places. Although there are definite gaps where you're like, oh, I wish I had jump 4. But for a fleet, jump 3, well streamlined, that's pretty good. The one kind of real fight that's happening is at a Fate. We managed to knock down, it's a siege, but it has these, we managed to knock down the rest of the SDVs, even though they were in hiding. We managed to wipe out the troops, not just from bombing, but from the rebellion forces. And we got a very, very lucky roll. Very lucky. And between the, there had been losses on the bombings. They had already taken 60% losses, but we got like a 3 on the die roll for combat. On the other hand, the Imperials got lucky rolls back on combat, but they're only picking one of the guerrilla units for each die roll. And they got like 90% hits on one of them. That one's going to flip back over, go into covert mode, and build itself up. It's going to be pretty damn hard. Like, that's going to be a big load of troops in Regina when the fight is over. I kind of wish I had been moving the assault fleet here. If I'd known I was going to get that kind of luck, I would have done that. And it's plot time. Finished my Zodon plots. I noticed 2214. I was looking with more detail. That is this space. I wasn't making it to Regina. I'm actually going to Regina after that. And Uthith is going to go take Dinham. The reason is I don't want to use my huge fleet on Dinham. And Dinham's worth 10 points. It's a doinky little D starport with nothing on it. What about this other one that looks just like it called Dinham? Well, that's a B starport with a 3 tech level and a naval base. What the hell? There are things you don't know. But there are also, like this could be an important mining planet. But honestly, it's probably not able to extract much with a 3 tech level. That's like, if I recall correctly, 7 is like 20th century. So 3 is like Bronze Age or something. So I don't know what would justify this as a more important place. It's a scout base. That's fine. I don't mind that. It's the B starport. That's hard to justify. Maybe it's a great tourist place. But this other one, is a reasonable world and everything. I can see the D starport. It's a vacuum world, whatever. But and these are taken from the normal traveler maps. They're transcribed. So unless there's a mistake, this is what Spinward looks like if you have, all the information on it. But you can get really fucked up planetary, the starport class, it's affected by the tech level. Everything's affected by other things, but you can get some wacky stuff. And it's not really explained in the game. When it's not explained in the planet creation system. The Merchant Prince's trading system, well, the trading systems in general may give you kind of a clue as to what might be driving some of that, because that tries to give you some additional information. But there's nothing, when you generate the planets, there's nothing that tells you. Anyway, I got to do the damn Imperial plot. One of those common errors that happens in plotting, I plotted somewhere completely illegal, I don't know where. But where I want to be is here, and then I wanted to jump to there. I don't know what happened. I mean, we're talking seriously illegal here. 2822. The next jump was 2717, which is like here. I probably was looking at the wrong fleet. I'm just going to take it as a pass and put a legal jump in for the next turn. because it doesn't matter that much. But, and that's what you should do according to the rules. That's the penalty for fucking up. But, man, it's so goddamn easy to do. It's one of the problems with any movement plot type game. Real plot, not like orders in CWB or whatever. So you might see me cheating sometimes to fix something. In this case, hey, it's just some boot dragging. No big deal. All right, that's it for this morning. I was thinking I could just forget about the replacement points for a little bit of time. It's coming up to the time where the Zodani replacements start. They get a pile of them. But I missed something. On turns 6 through 9, the Imperials are getting 3 of each. So I've actually got a collection of replacement points in play and can start rebuilding fleets and funneling them in. I guess along with all the other mistakes, it all kind of cooks into that special sauce of the stew or whatever that I'm creating here. Yeah, fuck. Yeah. Because I haven't worried about the troop replacement points, just because I don't need troops right now. Screw that, man. They're too difficult to figure out where I would put them, whatever. If I run out of forces that I can invade with, I'll build up some more, you know. Or if I run out of garrisons or something like that, because I get my navies wiped out while they're carrying them. But, yeah, ship squadrons, I definitely have some that I want to rebuild. Not so much, given that I have no reinforcements in the box. Like, I moved my admirals over here, and I'm not quite sure why. This guy, I don't know what the hell he thinks he's doing. He really should, like, create a fleet with this or something. But, yeah, I'm pretty much not at all convinced that I know what I'm doing anywhere here. It's one of the things, so the written orders, among other things, create this layer of obfuscation of the whole game, sort of. You have no idea what's going on anywhere, which to me makes it kind of better solo than opposed, because opposed, you kind of want to know that you're doing things that you intend to do. Solo, you can kind of shrug your shoulders and say, yeah, they're all fucking drunk anyway, just like I am. And no, I'm not. Can't really play these things drunk, but I feel like I am when I'm facing this. A ton's going on. Graham is stuck here, has to fight another round because they have to refuel, or they have to stick around another round. They may end up taking Gardavillas, they may end up delaying their orders or canceling them or whatever before they go back to deal with Villas itself, which may be an insolvable problem, to tell you the truth. And if it is, that may be a big deal, because there's still a big SDB there. I don't know how big. There's 30% of something there. But we could go look it up. It would be really useful if numbers... So there's a 30-point SDB there, which is significant. And the more significant thing is, can I hurt it at 100? Because if I can't, want to cancel further movement into there. I didn't worry, the Joyous Fleet made it back there. Who cares? Over here, we've got a naval battle followed by attacks on this Genji or whatever. Uthith is still fighting at Regina. Ifate's still under attack. We're making an attack on Zircon, which is a base, so if we can get that, we're fueled. Here, though, we've got a problem. The 2nd Assault Fleet has come back with a higher ranking officer and has joined the 16th Colonial. Now, 16th Colonial has a better officer. I'm going to end up losing his capabilities because I think I'm going to just join those into 2nd Assault Fleet and try to send it somewhere, probably Grant, where it won't cause further problems. It might be possible for me to attack Lousy. I remember that was a horrible problem, though. So that that's just too big to fight. Like, I shouldn't have attacked it. And that's one of the things. Don't go for the important planets that are defended by SDBs. Grab your victory points elsewhere. But again, it requires a lot of analysis of the board state to be able to come up with your path of attack. You could definitely do that, and it's kind of an interesting problem to come up with. But then, like, if you're putting that much effort in with the Zodani as to how to get the victory points, they're just going to win. Because there's no way that the Imperials are going to put that much effort into trying to figure out how to defend the points or whatever. First of all, they don't have enough fleets at the early stages of the game. My understanding is the game is usually over in one sense or another. By the time the Zodani's second turn 20 reinforcements come, by the time they start taking effect, etc., I don't think the Imperials are going to gather their forces quickly enough to stop the Zodani from at least declaring a minor victory. And unless the Zodani look like they're going to win something bigger than that, I'm not sure they want to pursue it any further. Mainly, I'm not sure anybody wants to play the game even that far. When I say anybody, I mean this anybody, because I do know people who have, I had somebody comment somewhere around turn 26 to 30, somewhere in that range. They ended up in a Zodani victory. It might have been an overall, the 300-point victory. It doesn't look that unlikely. The main thing stopping them from doing it is an unwillingness to plan. So a lot of the inaction has broken up this turn. Some conquers occurring, basically. First thing, these fleets recombined, or combined, and 16th Colonials go on second assaults in its place. And the less fleets I have on the board, the happier I am. If I'm able to knock out the main Imperial fleet, then I can operate more freely. But I got enough to worry about. And I don't think there are many troops, if any, here, which is problematic. I may have to leave troops behind for them to pick up. They have nothing. So they kind of can't conquer anything, which is an issue. That may mean I leave, I don't know, because my problem is, ooh, I bet you I jumped to Grant with second assault, didn't I? Oh, I didn't jump anywhere. Good. I needed to refuel. Perfect. Because it can't make it to Grant. And what we saw of Lousy, I probably don't want to attack Lousy. That 8 victory points is simply not worth the expenditure I put in on it. So I'm probably going to have to go out of my way. I used to have a jump 4 fleet. Now it's jump 3 with the combination. And it's like, well, yeah, but it serves some fucking purpose at least now. Like 2 little combat fleets with no troops is totally useless. A bunch of small fleets with troops associated with them can capture more planets, more weakly defended planets. And a lot of the most valuable planets are very weakly defended because for whatever reason, the value has to do with the tech level. There's 2 important scientists on the planet, and it becomes exceedingly valuable. They don't even have to be that important. Something like we're talking about like a scientific outpost type planet that's monitoring, some fauna or something there. That could easily be tech level 14 or 15, right? But with a really, really low population. This is just the way the Traveler universe works. Well, that would be worth 14 victory points. It's got nothing to do with the massive population of the planet. It has to do with what the tech level is. It has nothing to do with the industrial capacity of the planet. It's just the tech level, which is a ridiculous way to score these. What they should have done was put a little thought into this, not used the tech level as the victory point thing, and just given each planet a victory point value. As sort of a mixture of its capability to provide to a war effort, whether that's resources or otherwise. Unfortunately, some of that information just isn't in Traveler, right? Like, you don't have, whether it's rich in minerals or something. You might, I think there are, I think there are some modifiers, but they only come out through the trade system, and this game probably came out before the trade system did. But yeah, if Fate, we took over, we're regrowing some of our covert units, and the overts are holding the planet. We took over here, whatever the fuck this is, Genji, and Zircon was taken. And in all cases, the fleets are capable of moving again, so their plots, if any, aren't going to be disrupted. Sword World's still stuck in their toilet. Uthith fleet still stuck at Regina. It's just not quite big enough to handle that. It's chipping it away and not taking any damage. I mean, that's one of the weird cases. Something like Regina has like, I don't know, what was it, 10 SDBs or something. Yeah, which is enough you could hurt a fleet a little bit, but almost any fleet is going to be able to trim that down to where it can't be hurt anymore, because 10 is the minimum number of SDBs that can do any damage. So, you know, now it's just in hiding because it can't do anything, which makes it harder and harder to kill. Because, well, at 10, a reasonable fleet can blow it out of the water. This thing retreated. We lost another ship. We lost some more troops. You know, I'm collecting up these 100-point units, and there's just no way those can be rebuilt. So I don't have a good place to put them, though. I guess I could bag them, because I need to keep forces for the reinforcements rolls that come in. Those can't come back, but yeah. And I guess that's, wow, this counter has something on it. Looks like a little spit would help. There's some kind of smudge on it that, you know, let's leave some spit on the map. And now I go to the movement plot. Plots are in, turn 10 is about ready to start. I'm going to call this video at this point. There'll be more to play. But currently, 175.5 points for the Zidanian. Remember, they have to get to 300. Doesn't feel like that far, and there's not a lot facing us. In order to deal with this fact, I have split actually a colonial fleet off, since I have a decent admiral. He's a great admiral. Unfortunately, he's not commanding a major battle fleet. That way I can start capturing more planets here. And stuff like Pixie, I might be able to divert eventually one of these damaged ships. Yeah. It has to have a fire combat value. This is an assault. Or this is actually a tanker, right? Yeah. Oh, it's full at this point. For whatever that's worth, I don't know. I don't know what's the value of a damaged tanker. It can refuel like 3 ships, but I don't have an easy way to get that home. I'm hoping to kind of get it back this way so I can repair it eventually, but that's a long time. But there's enough planets in this area, and doesn't look like a lot of Imperial fleets up there. So split up, grab what we can, especially since we have 2 admirals. I wouldn't want to be using a 4-turn plot. That's really hard to react with. I did not split any other fleets, even though there are ones that I probably could. Second assault, well, we just combined that, and it's not in a good area to split. 17th Colonial is off on its own, doing its own thing. First assault, we have just dealt with. Third assault has another admiral, but he's a 4-point command rating admiral. Plus, I'm in an area that it looks like the Imperials are kind of close to. We'll see how things flex, but we're more worried. We've already got a 2nd fleet in that area. And it gets more and more complex the more fleets you have operating in a region. For the Imperials, the 212th is going to join up with the Corridor and that's my 2 big fleets, that should create a combat-worthy fleet. That if it can catch one of the Zodani fleets, it'll be a fight. Anything less than either of those probably couldn't. The 2 of them together may be bigger than any of the Zodani fleets that are out there. So it is a real threat. But the if it can catch is the big deal. It's well led, but so are the Zodani fleets for the most part. Being able to guess where the enemy is going to go is a big part of this. So even if you get the big fleet, you might be doing what I was doing with the 212th before, which is just following your thief up and making sure it wasn't generating points. But if you get lucky and you get a fight that you want, that's great. But if the enemy runs away from you, well, they probably can generate as many points as you're taking away by chasing them. So all you're doing is neutralizing that fleet in terms of the victory point situation. Of course, the Imperials, in the long run, get a decent size overall force in play, but it takes a while to come in. What we see here is, when do the reinforcements start coming? Starting on turn 10, we're going to be rolling dice to see how many squadrons we get. And it's not a lot at a time, so they're going to be coming in piecemeal. I want to get a leader up here. I've got Task Force 17 there. That's just a holding box. Does it have orders? You should probably write it orders. Let me write it some orders. But anyway, that's where we're at. Gonna load this one up, and turn 10 is where a lot of things change. The Zodani reinforcements come in, the Imperial reinforcements start trickling in, and things should be picking up in, well, at least the interest of the situation, because the current situation is the Zodani get to grab a lot of territory. At some point or another, that stops.